We all somehow had to face this task in the course of our histories, sometimes succeeding, mostly failing, with often disastrous consequences. New might be, however, the elaborate conceptual approach in most of our countries. The German national integration plan has indeed some similarities in its toolbox with the Sri Lanka program, and I'm convinced that for this reason the German partners on the ground have excellent competence to supporting and working with it. Third, social integration is complex, and it will never be completed at a given point of time. Societies are developing organisms with daily changing economic and socio-political paradigms. Thus, there will always be individuals or a group who perceive themselves as being marginalized. Fourth, social integration will be and remain, for this reason, a moving target and the challenge of all societies forever. Fifth, social integration, I think, cannot be imposed. It is a matter of living. Successful integration is a two-way street, requiring newcomers and oldtimers to interact, requiring a consensual effort from those who are outsiders, who agree that they want to be inside, from those who are insiders, who agree that they also should be let in. Creating consensus needs discussion and debates. For this particular reason, I commend the Ministry of National Language and Social Integration on this initiative to bring forward a serious discussion forum in cooperation with the Kaligagama Institute. But I would also commend the Lankan government's vision in giving a national policy framework for social integration such a high priority and creating a comprehensive policy framework for this purpose. Germany, a steadfast partner of Sri Lanka in the past, is proud to be partner in this very important process. Let me conclude by congratulating the organizers of the discussion forum for their undoubted great effort, and I wish that the discussion forum as well as the program and your pursuit for social harmony might be crowned with success. The very last word I would like, I agree fully with this Honorable Minister Giz, that the key in all the success is education, education, education. Thank you.
ඔබට අසා ඇති අපි ගැටලුවේ කොටසක් වෙනකොට අපි ප්‍රණාමය විදේශ කටයුතු ප්‍රතිචාරකයෙක් ඔබ අසා ඇති අපි ගැටලුවේ කොටසක් වෙනකොට ප්‍රශ්නේ කොටසක් වෙනකොට විසඳුමේ කොටසක් වෙනකොට විශේෂයෙන්ම සමාජ ඒකාබද්ධතා ජාතික ප්‍රතිපත්ති සම්පාදනයේ දායක වෙන්නේ එය ගෞරවයක් බව ප්‍රකාශ කළ තැනකදී දැන් මේ සම්මාද මාලාවේ අපි අනාගතයට ආරම්භ කරමු. පශ්චාත් යුද සංගීත අධ්‍යයනයේ සමාජ ඒකාබද්ධතාවයට බලපාන්නේ කොහොමද? එය අභියෝගයක් නම් එය දිනන්නේ කොහොමද? පශ්චාත් යුද සංගීත පවතින සමාජයක සමාජ ඒකාබද්ධතාවයේ සිටිනදී එන අභියෝග අපේ රටේ අධ්‍යයනතුලින් මේ සත්‍යචාන්ද්‍ර සංස්කෘතමාලාවේ සමරණක ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නට ආරාධනා කරනවා. සමාජ ඒකාබද්ධතාවය හා පරිවර්තනය නිසා පාවිච්චි කරන ව්‍යාපෘති ආයතනයේ තාක්ෂණික උපදේශනා බයනි පණිවිඩ මාර්ගයට
நாங்கள் சமூக ஒருமைப்பாட்டினை மேலும் மேலும் மேம்படுத்தி சமூகத்தில் உள்ள மக்கள் மத்தியிலே அதை மேலும் மும்முரப்படுத்தி அதை செயல்படுத்த வேண்டும். அதுதான் இன்றைய காலத்தின் தேவை. யுத்தத்தின் வீரரான சமூகத்தில் சமூக ஒருமைப்பாட்டினை இங்கே ஏற்படுத்துவதில் எதிர்நோக்கும் சவால்கள் பற்றி நமது நாட்டின் அனுபவத்திலிருந்து இங்கே உங்கள் உரையாற்றுவதற்காக GIZ ஃபிளிக் நிறுவனத்தின் தொழில்நுட்ப ஆலோசகர் திருமதி தயானி பனார் அவர்களை நாம் அன்போடு அழைக்கின்றோம்.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the German experience, we're going to move on to the Sri Lankan experience of challenges to social integration in the post-war societies. Please welcome the technical advisor, GIZ Flick, raise banner பண்ணாங்க.
Hi everyone. Your Excellency, Your Excellency, the Ambassador to Sri Lanka and Dr. Lincoln Moran, Honorable Minister, Dr. Secretary Minister of National Languages and Social Education, Mr. Asanga Secretary, Executive Director, distinguished guests, extremely sorry, relevant hearers. Social integration is a process. Fostering societies that are stable, safe, and just, and that are based on the promotion and protection of all human rights, as well as non-discrimination, tolerance, respect for diversity, equality of opportunity, solidarity, security, and participation of all people, including disadvantaged and vulnerable groups and thirds. Taking the lead from the Copenhagen Declaration on Social Development 1995, the Ministry of National Languages and Social Education, in collaboration with the German Development Corporation on behalf of the German government, and truly facilitating local initiatives for social cohesion and transformation, engaging in a formulation of a national policy and an action plan to promote social integration. And this policy, when we were formulating, had a discussion series, and in that discussion series, where we feel that it should be founded on rights-based approach, highlighting the significance of the rights and responsibilities of individuals and the duties of the state to enhance social justice and inclusion. Before I briefly tell you about the challenges, let me briefly get to the process where that we go backwards, where the launch of the National Policy for Social Integration in July last year by His Excellency President Mahatma Gandhi, upon the approval of the Cabinet of Ministers, marked a momentous occasion in Sri Lanka's progress towards social cohesion and meets social integration needs voiced by people across Sri Lanka as accommodated in its extensive consultation process. The formulation process of national policy was broad-based and consultative, guided by an interministerial steering committee constituted of representatives from 23 ministers and departments to ensure a comprehensive policy mix and an expert panel comprised of distinguished individuals from all sectors. Why? Social integration is not one individual's responsibility. Social integration is not one individual's responsibility. Social integration is that our responsibility. We all need to work towards this process, work within this process, engage in this process to achieve social cohesion. The formulation process was further strengthened by the participation of diverse state and civil society stakeholders at district, provincial and national levels through conversational working sessions, focus group discussions, guaranteeing that policy is a demand-driven, inclusive and participative. To this effect, the national policy is founded on the pillars of ethics, education and empowerment, and I'm too happy that everybody who spoke before me made the point that education, and through education, ethics, empowerment, all that in a nexus that draws us towards a cohesive society. And I'm too happy to announce that when we were doing the deliberations as to how to prioritize these elements, that was in unison that, and also the directives from the Honorable Minister, that education takes the priority. And with that, we have identified several elements, and identifying these several elements, studious process, and it is supported by the Sri Lankan experience. When we went to districts, when we discussed in the focus groups, it was all about Sri Lankan. If I have to speak to Sri Lankan experiences only, that there will be many, and I will be more than 15 minutes. So with that, we identified these elements, several elements, and then the policy also proposed special provisions to empower groups excluded due to gender, age, physical and mental vulnerability, and social marginalization. This is where we draw a line that social integration is not national integration. Social integration goes beyond national integration, where we are looking at why people are socially excluded, marginalized, or why they are deprived. The national policy also identifies two significant cross-cutting themes, including language links that we spoke extensively, we discussed extensively, or we heard here also again. It always coming back, no matter how much that we are trying to say that social integration is the bigger process where national language, where the language plays a key role, it always comes back to discuss about the language and the language policy. And physical and mental vulnerabilities and social marginalization. And also these two significant cross-cutting issues are language links and socially responsible media. It was noted that media at times divides people. Media does not integrate people. Therefore, we wanted to make a special emphasis on socially responsible media and to look into the media policy and look into the media practices to make it the point that through media we promote social integration and through media we achieve social progress. The process of social integration is essentially for not simply guaranteeing the rights and freedoms of all, but as a foundation for progress and development. However, a feeling of collective unity, respect and inclusion is crucial to this task. Enabling all citizens to realize their substantive freedom to the fullest is the need of the hour in this country. The policy aims to strengthen existing institutional structures. We do not want to reinvent the wheel. We do not want to start another process where we would have been having structures. We want to strengthen existing institutional structures to pave the way for special provisions for social integration needs, and most significantly promote a resolute effort among all citizens to fulfill their responsibilities as equal partners in Sri Lanka's growth through shared institutions founded on a collective commitment to social integration. The policy also accords special emphasis to vulnerable and marginalized people, prioritizing their inclusion and empowerment into social, economic and political processes to ensure equitable progress and mobility for all. All Sri Lankans must fully engage in this task as a matter of great priority and as a part of their responsibility towards achieving social cohesion and Sri Lanka's future. Challenges. Social integration provides a holistic approach to achieve social cohesion, while the social integration considers the aftermath of the war, needs for reconciliation and prevailing social and political division. It also looks beyond the present towards shared Sri Lankan future. That's the challenge. Where do we get from now? Social integration is not simply about Sri Lanka's short-term progress and development, but highlights the need to consider the sustainability. As such, it is important that this vision is one which is collectively constructed and upheld by all stakeholders, state, civil society, development and private sector partners, bound by a shared commitment to education, ethics and empowerment, pillars of social integration. while the ministry has taken the first step through the launch of the Thavindara Tirakku Access campaign, as well correctly placing social integration as a rights-based approach within our hearts, as a means of engaging the public by creating awareness on the importance of social integration and foster attitudinal changes, a sentiment of belonging and responsibility, and more significantly, ownership to the social integration process among all Sri Lankans. It is also essential that able partners, state, non-state, and even individuals support this process. This discussion forum series is organized in partnership with the Lakshman Padmanabhan Institute, is therefore bringing another perspective to this discussion. We are now starting a process of making or developing